Hello and welcome to the third season and first Travel Notes episode of 2024. Here on Travel Notes, we use music as a medium to explore ways in which we are all connected. We broadcast Monday evenings at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on WOHM Radio 96.3 FM and across all streaming platforms. I'm so excited for our first guest of the year. On today's episode, we're going to be talking to Clay Ross, a multi-Grammy award-winning guitarist, vocalist, composer, and educator about his group, the American Patchwork Quartet, or APQ as I'll refer to them in today's episode. I saw American Patchwork Quartet perform at the APAP conference in New York City this past January and was totally blown away by their live performance and music. A little bit of background about the American Patchwork Quartet. They are a New York City-based collective of award-winning musicians from diverse artistic and cultural backgrounds, led by multi-Grammy award-winning guitarist, vocalist Clay Ross, and featuring vocals by Falu, who is the first Indian-born female singer-songwriter to win a Grammy and nominee for the third time in 2024. APQ's dynamic rhythm section of go-to bassist Yasushi Nakamura, who's worked with Cecile McLaurin-Salvant, Joe Lovano, and Kurt Elling, just to name a few, and drummer Clarence Penn, who's played on 2 Grammy Award-winning records, won a Juno Award himself, and was mentored by the great Ellis Marsalis. This dynamic and virtuosic group binds timeless American folk songs with jazz sophistication, country twang, West African hypnotics, and East Asian ornamentation on their debut self-titled album, which comes out Friday, February 9th. With a mission to reclaim the immigrant soul of American roots music, the group reinterprets the country's centuries-old folk songbook by uplifting its underrepresented voices, infusing these standards with elements like classical Hindustani vocal work and traditions from the African American churches of Detroit. Throughout the album, we find potent symbols of unity and diversity, exploring universal truths through a range of musical languages and cultural lenses. Themes like longing, heartbreak, desire, fulfillment, tranquility, and love, ultimately revealing the joys, sorrows, and unwavering hope of a nation crafted by shared dreams and diverse histories. So without further ado, let's dive into our conversation with guitarist, vocalist, and band leader Clay Ross. All right, Clay, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks, Grace. It's great to be here. Appreciate you having me.
Of course. So you guys have an exciting week coming up, your debut self-titled album coming out Friday, February 9th. Tell me a little bit more about the origin story behind American Patchwork Quartet and this album.
Yeah, happy to. So American Patchwork Quartet was really a simple idea where I really wanted to create a version of my American roots music, Southern American music, that reflected the diversity that I found myself in as a member of the creative community in New York City. And I moved from Charleston to New York over 20 years ago now. It's hard to believe so much time has gone by, but it goes so fast.
It does.
And I guess ever since I arrived here, my network of collaborators has really become a global one, and that has been really inspiring to me. You know, one of the first collaborations I had when I came here was with an accordionist from Galicia, and he exposed me to all this Argentinian tango music and music from Brazil. And the first big break I caught as a touring artist after I came to New York was with a Brazilian percussionist named Ciro Baptista, and that really kind of set me on a path in the jazz adjacent world of, world music and roots music. And that's been exciting for me, and it sort of opened up all of these possibilities for different kinds of collaborations that can happen. And I was working at Carnegie Hall as a teaching artist, and I started there probably 8 years ago now. And one of the really phenomenal talents that I met there, among many, honestly, there are so many talented people that are on the faculty there, like as teaching artists, and it's kind of a part-time gig that a lot of musicians in New York do, but the roster that they have of talent is unreal. So there's so many wonderful artists there from all over the world that are living in New York now. And I met Falguni Shaw. She likes to go by Falu as one word. And Falu and I were teaching artists there, working mostly on this project called Lullaby Project, where we would write a lot of songs for expecting mothers. And that's such an intimate thing. You're writing these songs for a mom in this really sensitive, intimate time in their life. And so, that helped us to really bond, and we got really close and became good friends. And so me asking her to participate in this project was sort of a natural extension of our friendship. And we were really looking for a way to collaborate. We were trying to figure out, well, should we write songs together and try to do some gigs, or maybe, what could we do? What is a common language that we share? And this is all sort of around the same time that I was doing research for what became the Rinky Tanky group, and I was doing a lot of deep dives into the Alan Lomax archives and really digging into folk music archives, and really searching for songs that were connected to South Carolina specifically and Gullah music. But I found all of these other songs that weren't specifically connected to Gullah, but were really amazing and beautiful songs, mostly from rural Appalachia, from the mountains, and a lot from, further west and from the Mississippi Delta, and fife and drum type grooves and other blues music from different traditions as you travel further west. And I just kind of thought, I want to do something with these songs, and I needed a vehicle to explore those songs. And I just sort of thought, well, Falu would probably sound amazing singing some of these songs. And I imagined a song like Beneath the Willow or Shenandoah. And I asked her, I said, what do you think of these songs? Check these out. And she said, oh, wow, this is gorgeous. She sang on them, and she was just like, oh, this is just like a mountain song that we sing, in my Gujarati folk style.
Wow.
So that was really cool. And that she was down was a big part of the impetus for putting a little bit more weight and energy and time into this. And, I really wanted to specifically go forward with a mission to share diversity and representation on stages. I play on a lot of stages. I've been traveling all over the world playing on these on beautiful stages, and I felt like it could be a really special and needed statement to sort of ensure that diversity and representation was presented in a group on stage. And so with that in mind, sort of set out to find other collaborators that would be interested in a project like this. And that led me to first Clarence Penn, who I met at the Monterey Jazz Festival. And we, Clarence is a very famous jazz drummer. I mean, he's really world-renowned and worked with Michael Brecker and Betty Carter and so many wonderful jazz artists. And I was just thrilled that I had this opportunity to get to know him, because we shared a car going back to the airport after the Monterey Jazz Festival. And I was just sort of talking to him, and then our plane got delayed, and we ended up hanging out in the airport together for like 10 hours, sort of commiserating over this terrible travel experience. But what was cool about that is in that time, we were like just rapping about everything, about family, about cooking, about travel, and everything really except music. And we became friends, and didn't even consider making music together. But later, when I was really starting to dig into this idea of American Patchwork Quartet, he was one of the first people that I shared it with, and I asked him what he thought about it, and he thought, man, that's a great idea. He's like, that's going to be really cool. He said, we got to give this a shot. And then both of us immediately thought of Yasushi Nakamura who we both have played with. And I knew Yasushi was one of the first musicians that I met when I came to New York. Brilliant bassist, originally from Tokyo, Japan, that, again, working with the top names in the jazz field today, playing with when he's not playing with Joe Lovano or Cecile McLaurin-Salvant, or Dave Douglas. I mean, he's just working so much with all the greatest musicians on the scene, and I'm grateful again that he liked the idea a lot too. So yeah, it's definitely like a collaborative project that I kind of created this frame and the concept, and it thrives and it works and it's interesting and it's cool because everybody kind of put their weight behind it, and everybody put their souls and hearts and souls into creating something within that context.
Totally. And I think your name, the American Patchwork Quartet, is such a genius kind of summary of the tracks on this album too, because it really, you've woven together so beautifully and seamlessly, like a quilt or patchwork quilt.
Yeah.
All these different influences and all your bandmates, musical backgrounds. Speaking of, you mentioned Beneath the Willow. I would love to dive into that track. What really strikes me about this arrangement is Falu's ethereal classical, is it Hindustani?
That's right, yeah.
Hindustani.
So she's an 11th generation of this very specific style of Hindustani classical training that is passed down over these generations. And she comes from a musical family, and her training is a very strict and specific training. And someday I hope you can interview her in order to get a little more insight into that. But it's really been a great education for me to get to work with Falu, and that's a big part of why I go and set up these types of projects, because it's a way for me to also continue learning. And she has taught me a lot.
Yeah, it is really, I'd love to learn more about what goes into the classical training for Hindustani vocal work, because she has such a refined, you hear the classical training in her voice, but then with this music, it's so, folk music being so kind of raw and unrefined in a lot of ways, it really combines to create a really special sauce, so to speak.
Well, yeah, it works because it's all blues, right? And when we talk about the blue notes in our blues, and in literally in blues music, but in jazz music and country music, in all American folk music, in the great lexicon of American folk, you have all of these bends, and you have those blue notes, those notes that aren't just the perfect 440, one of the 8 tones that we sing in the major scale, the 7 tones of the major scale. They're a little bit, they bend, and they have a character. And so in her training, they actually have many more notes than just the 7 notes of the scale, or beyond the 12 of the chromatic scale. And they can really articulate those subtle spaces in between the notes. And so she can just really have a field day with what we would call blue notes, and bending notes, and that's just a part of her language.
So cool. So before we dive into this track, tell me about what inspired you guys to start with this one.
Yeah, you mean like in the sequencing on the album?
Yeah.
I think the thought behind that was that it's a very familiar song. It's one of the first songs that was ever recorded as a commercial country song. It was recorded by the Carter family over 100 years ago, the first family of country music,
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful melody, and I also love that it really features Falu's what she calls alap, which is an improvisational style, and she sings with her improvisational style in the middle of the track, and I think it is a precursor of what's to come on this album. You know, it doesn't shock, because in the beginning you're hearing something familiar and you can hold on to it. Oh, this is Beneath the Willow. But by the middle of the song, it's like, oh, this is something different.
Yeah.
So that's, we're trying to take the listener on a journey.
Definitely. You guys definitely do a great job of that. And so let's dive into Beneath the Willow off of the American Patchwork Quartet debut album. Hope you enjoy.
Untrue to you. Oh, bury me beneath the willow, under the weeping willow tree, so you will know where I am sleeping, and perhaps you'll weep for me.
And this next single, which, this isn't a single. You guys haven't released this yet. However, this is one of my favorite. I think I heard you guys perform this live at APAP in January, and it was incredible. Shenandoah is the name. A really beautiful and captivating piece. Tell me a little bit about this track.
Yeah, I mean, Shenandoah, again, is one of these iconic, American songs. You know, it's a song you hear choirs, college choirs singing and everything. And, but, it's also been done by some of my heroes, like one of my personal guitar heroes, the great Tony Rice, bluegrass legend, has this absolutely stunning acoustic instrumental version of Shenandoah that moves me to tears. I love it. One of my other favorite guitarists, Bill Frisell, this is one of his go-to tunes. There's also versions by Keith Jarrett and the great jazz pianist. And so, you know, we're definitely referencing a lot of those versions in what came out as our version. And I just feel like this is one of the songs where Falu shines really triumphantly. I mean, it's perfectly suited for the type of training that she has and the type of singing, and gives her so much space to explore the nuances of her voice. And that's a big thing with Indian classical music. Her training is, they don't sing harmony. There's not a lot of harmonic movement, and the training is a lot about the purity of the tone and the very subtle ornaments. And she has a name for each of the ornaments that she puts at the end of a phrase. So it's very subtle, these nuances that are very important, and each one is telling a story. So she, again, had a really good time sort of making choices around the nuances and the ornaments that she placed on the ends of each phrase and inside of each phrase of this song. And I feel like the band really arrived at just a beautiful sound. You know,
Yes.
it's different than a lot of the music that I play. I play a lot of high energy music, a lot of dance music, a lot of trance type African-based music, and this is a very, very spacious, very peaceful, very calm track, and I enjoy it so much. So thanks for sharing it.
Of course. I hope you guys enjoy Shenandoah.
Oh, Shenandoah, been 7 years since last I've seen you, and here you're rolling river. It's been 7 years since last I've seen you away. I'm bound away across the wide Missouri. Oh, Shenandoah, I long to see you, and here you're rolling river. Oh, Shenandoah, I long to see you away. We're bound away across the wide Missouri.
So, what message are you hoping to convey with this album?
You know, I mean, we hope that people can look at us and just see an example of what makes America a great place to live, which is our diversity. You know, our diversity is one of our greatest strengths. Immigration is one of our greatest strengths. You know, the potential that we have to learn from one another, to not only celebrate our commonalities, but also to appreciate our differences. And I think that our music can really just be a very simple and clear example of that. And it doesn't have to be overly complicated. You know, our making music together for us was a real process. You know, it wasn't always easy, and it's taken a lot of navigation, a lot of learning from one another, a lot of conversations, and a lot of, you know, I wouldn't say compromise, but at times compromise, you know, like finding the middle ground so that we arrive at something that we all feel proud of. Mm-hmm. And I think at our best, you know, music and the arts can live as an example and an inspiration for us in our daily lives, because certainly this issue is in the news all the time, and increasingly so as we come into this election year. But, you know, there's space for all of us, and there's room, and there's beyond being space for all of us, there's opportunity for all of us to grow together and learn from one another.
Beautifully said. And you can't see me because this is radio, but I am shaking my head. I was shaking my head through the whole time you were talking. I think that is beautiful. And I really, after listening through the album, you guys, and just meeting you guys too, and seeing you perform live, you guys do a great job of conveying that. So this next track, this is a more upbeat one that's super fun. I'm So Glad.
Yeah.
Is this an original?
So all of the songs on the album are original arrangements of public domain music, songs that were captured on field recordings or released, prior to 1922 or whatever the year is. Songs that are, have had many iterations and versions, and some more obscure than others, of course. But this is a song that's actually not terribly obscure. It was actually covered by Eric Clapton, played a version of this song in the band Cream. The rock band Deep Purple played a version of this song, and our version has nothing to do with either of those. It's very different. But sometimes we do play it, and someone in the audience will come up and say, "Hey, that's that Cream song," but totally different, right? But no, this is a song that was originally written by a blues artist named Skip James, one of my favorite blues artists, who used to perform solo, guitarist and singer, and he had a really very cool high falsetto voice that he would use when he would sing.
Cool.
And so I try my best to emulate that on this track. But yeah, this is a fun song that has gone through many iterations in this group. And that's another cool thing about this band is like we almost never arrive it's always a journey. We're kind of always changing our arrangements and trying different things with these songs. The day before the recording, and I'll tell this story about this song because any musicians out there will appreciate it, and hopefully the non-musicians will enjoy the song nonetheless. But the song was originally in 4/4 and, a simple, very simple blues. And, I kind of come into these projects a lot of times with an overt mission of simplicity. I'm trying to sort of boil down the musical elements to their most fundamental so that the communication can be as clear as possible, and that it gives space for people and the musicians to add their own colors. And this is a song that the day before the recording, Clarence comes to the band and says, "Man, we should do something with this song. Check out this groove." And he had this groove that became the song, and the groove is 15 beats.
Oh,
okay. Wow. Which is it's not intuitive. It's not the kind of thing that if you're not Clarence, you're not thinking about every day.
Sure. Is it from a country or is it root?
It's not. It's the kind of thing that Clarence Penn sits around and thinks about, all day long. And it's totally killing. I mean, it's absolutely amazing because the beauty of it is like you lose yourself in it, and it doesn't feel like it's in 15 beats. It feels like you're just bobbing your head and it's like grooving.
Totally.
And that's the best kind of, when something is complex, if it can be deceptively complex, that's when it's most interesting. But that said, when he brought this song, we were all real mad.
24 hours.
Especially me. Yeah. And I was like, man, the day before the recording, you're going to spring this on me. And, but I put my head down and, and got into it and spent my, several hours, digesting it. And yeah, I got my head around it real quick. And it's one of my favorite tracks on the album in the end. So, and I hope people will enjoy it. This is, I'm So Glad.
Tired of weeping, tired of moaning, tired of
guys have planned for the album release coming up? It drops this Friday, February 9th.
Yeah. Well, you know, a big part of why we created the project is so that we can be on stages and share this message with audiences all over the country. We've been to some very rural places, which I'm most excited about. I love when we play in a place like Philadelphia, Mississippi.
Oh,
Like, yeah,
a town.
Didn't know that existed until
yeah.
I went there. And the great country artist Marty Stewart, Country Music Hall of Famer, he heard about our project and invited us to perform at the. He has a Country Music Hall of Fame there in his hometown of Philadelphia, Mississippi.
So
And
cool.
that was an amazing experience. We had a great audience, and people came out saying all kinds of things from, you know, that version of Shenandoah moved me to tears to I don't normally like country music or folk music. I don't like Bob Dylan. I don't like Emmylou Harris, but I liked you guys.
Always a great compliment.
I
It's-
mean,
yeah.
yeah.
I feel
I mean,
like
I'm
there's
like,
always
well-
that one person who says something like that. You're like, okay,
I
cool.
know, you're like, well, oh, that's okay, cool. But you know, that said, we do want to play, and we're out there playing, and you know, navigating schedules is always a challenge. You know, I'm
Sure.
still deeply committed to Rinky Tanky, and you know, we have a lot of tour dates with Rinky Tanky, which is a real blessing, and so I'm out there playing with that group as well. But there's always room to and space to share the music you're inspired to share, and yeah, we hope to have more opportunities. So in February, we are going out on our album release tour, and we'll be playing several shows in California. We're doing a really cool collaboration with a Native American vocalist named Martha Redbone.
Cool.
And we have a show together that we call This Land Is Our Land, where American Patchwork Quartet performs, Martha Redbone performs, and then we do a collaborative set at the end. And so we'll be at some performing arts centers next season with that group. We're playing in California and playing in Middle America and Chicago area. And then, yeah, we have our album release concert at Joe's Pub in New York City. If you guys know anybody in New York, send them our way on February 10th. And actually, I'm super excited that we will be playing in Charleston. And it's at a really, really prestigious, phenomenal venue. And it's not yet announced, so I'm not going to say what it is, but it will be in the fall. And it will be a really cool show. So if you want to find out more about that, you can find more information on our website at AmericanPatchworkQuartet.com.
Awesome. And this final question is one that I ask every guest on Travel Notes. Since we are a show, we're always looking for ways that music connects us as humans. And I was wondering, how do you think music connects humanity?
Well, I think of music as this very safe space, you know? It's a space where it's okay to make mistakes, and it's okay to grow and learn by doing, you know? You're not performing a brain surgery on someone. And the stakes of a mistake are not so high. It's okay, you know? And that space is a beautiful place for people to share. And it can be so inspiring to watch people become excellent at a craft like music, because you can always look to find something to grow towards. And music is a constant growing, evolving process that no one ever arrives at finished. You're never finished with music, you know? It's endless. And just to be on the journey of music and to share that journey with all of humanity creates such a connection between those of us who engage with it. And that means everyone, not just the people who play it, but the people who listen. You're engaging with it. And if it's moving you, you're a part of that conversation. So I think music is just one of the greatest gifts that we have as a species. And I know that if music went away, everyone would feel it. And one of my teachers in Charleston, at the College of Charleston, Tommy Gill, rest in peace, Tommy Gill was a great jazz pianist from Charleston, and I learned so much from him, and he and I would have these long conversations, and he said that to me on the phone one day. He said, yeah, people take music for granted, but if all the music disappeared and nothing was playing anymore, everyone would notice.
So true. So true. Man, this has been such a pleasure. I've really enjoyed our conversation, learning more about you guys as a band and what went into your music. This album is incredible. I'm so excited for it to be out in the world and for you guys to be out in the world sharing it live, and looking forward to your Charleston show too, to be announced. And of course, everyone stay tuned by following them on their socials and website, American Patchwork Quartet. And yeah, thanks, Clay, so much again for coming on the show.
Yeah, anytime. And everyone can keep in touch with me too at all my social handles are Clay Ross Music, and my website for more information is clayross.com. So look forward to seeing y'all soon. Love everybody in Charleston. It's my home, my family. Just sending lots of love to everybody.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Travel Notes. I hope you enjoyed our conversation, and perhaps you are now an American Patchwork Quartet fan. I know for sure I am. Stay tuned for their debut album that drops Friday, February 9th. And if you liked today's episode, you can find out more at travelnotes_podcast on Instagram. Or if you want to connect directly, you can DM me or shoot me an email at travelnotespodcast@gmail.com. We have another great episode already in the works. Stay tuned and don't get too comfy, because our next trip is just around the corner.